Good evening and welcome to the second Inside Government for the spring 2023 semester here at KU Community College and broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, better known as ARMA, as well as Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. We are delighted to have back in the studio our second runner-up for most visits in the studio. I think the mayor was the first one. Auburn Superintendent of Schools, Jeff Pirozzolo, to give us a district update. He has, since he was last here, the state of New York is giving more aid to the city school district, but he's also received a report about graduation numbers dipping, and he's had some other issues that he's been dealing with, including an HVAC system at his elementary schools that's under repair that was just installed. He also has a whole slate of members of the Board of Education who will be up this May, and we'll talk about who may be running, who may not be running, but what he would like to see in new school board members. Welcome back to Inside Government. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Guy, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy that you run. I'm not sure if I'm as
well, that's maroon, not really red. But...
there was even money on what color you would be wearing today. Nobody won. So let me start with the news release last week about graduation rates, and I want to be clear on the numbers here. It was reported that the state graduation rate is about 87%, and this is for 2022. And 8 of the 9 districts in the KU-Onondaga-BOCES were all above 90%. The one outlier was Auburn at a 74% rate. Is that correct, first of all?
It is correct.
Okay. So why is Auburn about 13% below the state average? Why is it 16% below everybody else in KU-Onondaga-BOCES?
Yeah, and again, I think it's comparing apples to apples. If you look at all the small city school districts, the Utica areas, the Geneva areas, the Elmira areas, the Auburn areas, we are, because of our poverty level, we are a lot lower. The one thing that graduation rates don't take into account, though, is our students that graduate in 5 years or our students that graduate during the summertime.
These said, I thought it said in the story these go to August.
And in May, they were supposed to start changing those to August, but we even have students that graduate within 5 years or 5.5 years.
All right, so if you, in your mind, if you had the 5 or 5.5 year rate, what number would that go up to?
We usually get around to 80%. Sometimes we've gotten up to 81%.
But there's still a gap there.
And then when you look at our GED rate, because we have a lot of students that get their GED.
You have a program up here.
We do.
You were here 2 Board of Trustees meetings ago with Mr. Lozani and Mrs. Mitchell, I believe it was, talking about the program. Is that the district's sole GED program?
No, we also have one through BOCES as well. The issue was we didn't have enough spots for our kids getting their GEDs, but we also have kids that go to BOCES that get their GEDs, plus they're getting a CTE credit. That's our BOCES. That is our technical programs. So a lot of them get credentials. So some of them may not be graduating with a Regents diploma, but they're getting their GED and getting their mechanical license or, some type of tech certification. So, when you measure success, our graduation rate is low. But if you look at what our kids do over a 5.5 year period, between GED, credentialing, and Regents diplomas, we're around 86%.
But wouldn't those other school districts then be proportionally above that?
They may be.
Okay.
But
the reason I ask, because between 2021 and 22, there were a number of drops. Auburn was down 3% from the year before. Jordan Elbridge was down 2%. Moravian was down 7%. Skaneateles 1%, Southern KU another 8%. But again, they were all staying above the 90 range, other than Auburn. So for the regular taxpayer or parent, they would say there's a 25% rate where we're not graduating people. They're not going to be interested in 5 years and 5.5.
Correct.
Okay. So what does Auburn have to do differently than it has been doing? Because the last time you were at 80%, I want to say, was 2018.
Yep.
So that's 5 years ago.
So our dropout rate has been pretty high. Again, Another thing that you got to take into consideration are the children that come to school. The children that are coming to school every day are graduating probably at about a 96% rate. So we have about a 13% dropout rate, and it's been a little bit higher since COVID hit.
I would say most of it is dramatically higher.
Correct. Our dropout rate has been huge. So again.
So why? So I'm assuming. I think I read a story. It may have been Atlantic or somewhere else. Dropout rate. That gap from COVID is very high because students aren't returning.
Students aren't returning, and sometimes we don't even know where they went because they're not enrolling in another school district.
So their parents are just pulling them out altogether?
So again, if you look at our enrollment had been pretty stagnant for about 8-9 years, right between 4,100 and 4,200 kids. We have 3,800 kids now. We've lost over 300 kids in the last 2 years.
You attribute most of that to COVID?
A lot of it's due to COVID.
Okay.
A lot of those kids also could be students that have dropped out and not enrolled anywhere else, which goes against our numbers.
So let's go back 5 years. I think you were, I don't say we were joking about this. We were most likely talking about you're the truant officer too. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking Spanky and Alfalfa here. But,
right.
But
home visits.
But you're the home visit. 300, a couple of dozen is different than 300.
Correct.
So how do you even go to that number?
And thankfully, we build up our support staff. So we have social workers now in every buildings, and they are the ones now that are doing that heavy lift of doing a lot of the home visits. We're actually working with the Department of Social Services on creating programs because the kids that we are losing, these kids that aren't graduating, are the kids that are dropping out, or the kids that aren't coming to school. We need help from the community. We need community organizations to help us.
How so?
Whether we can maybe start up apprenticeships, but we also need help of getting to these homes and getting these parents to be able to send their kids to school. There's a lot of accountability pieces, and there's really nothing a school district can do anymore to tell a parent you have to send your kid to school.
So let us just say at this point if you were a ninth grader last year, which was still a COVID period, do you still think we're going to have those numbers in the 70 range, low 70s range for the next 2 or 3 years?
I would say so until we get through this.
And then do you think in a post, assuming there's no other COVID pandemic issue, do you think those numbers then start to spike up, getting you back towards your 80%?
Getting us back towards what our average is, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think again with Sheriff Gould has been wonderful getting us meetings together, working with the county of trying to get some programs together.
In his capacity as chairman of the legislature.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and he is scheduled a couple of meetings. Camille Johnson and I have attended. She's my assistant superintendent for student services. Really looking at a team approach because, again, it does take a village to raise a child. And we as school employees can continue to go to these houses trying to get these kids to go to school, but we need help as well. So that's why we're trying to reach out to
You're not to the extent, though, that if a parent is refusing to have their child go to school, that you take them out of the house.
No.
Can that be done?
Legally.
No, I don't mean whether you can do it, whether you have done it. Can it legally be done?
I mean, it can get up to that level, but it really hasn't been happening. It's really more of how we can work in partnership with the local organizations and agencies and work in partnership with those families to really talk about the importance of education and a diploma.
So I'm asking this part of this on the graduation rate because one of the issues that is now coming up in Central New York is, and we shouldn't just look to the west, but it'll be in the east as well, going as far as Utica, is this issue of Micron coming in, and there's this thought that you're going to have, let's just throw out the number, they're throwing out thousands of families are going to relocate to Central New York. Whether that's true or not, the question does become, does a low graduation number for Auburn make it harder to attract those types of families, which will maybe raise real estate values or other issues, to come to Auburn.
Yeah, and again, I guess you can look at data the way you want to look at data. I can tell you that I have 3 children. 2 of my children graduated in Seneca Falls, one with 4 college credits, one with 3 college credits. My son, who graduated here in Auburn, graduated with 42 college credits, only has to go to college for 3 years. The education that we offer in Auburn is top notch, and it's fantastic. Our staff are terrific. The opportunities for kids to take more things. But unfortunately, when you deal with a 60% poverty rate, unfortunately, your graduation rate may not be comparable to some of the other local areas that don't have those type of statistics and numbers.
The reason I asked, you and I ran into each other yesterday here at the campus. The Auburn district is looking towards the micron issue and planning with others. So what's being done on that front from your perspective?
Again, I'm sitting on a countywide committee as well as some subgroups. What the conversation is I want my Auburn children to be marketable when they graduate. So my biggest thing that I'm pushing right now is more the curriculum piece. What does that STEM curriculum look like? What
STEM stands for?
Well, that's the micron, the science, technology, engineering.
For those who may not know.
Yes.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that we're bringing that curriculum and that our students are going to be exposed to that, because when Micron comes in, Micron's going to be hiring about 9,000 jobs. They're saying there's going to be 9,000 jobs created. But all of these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 supply exchange, these companies are going to be coming in. They're going to be increasing another 40,000 jobs. So, there's going to be a huge market here. I want to make sure that our Auburn
you see major curriculum changes in the next 10 years?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Will that be locally driven or state driven?
I think it's going to be regionally driven.
Okay.
In our central region. I know that Idaho right now, they have a STEM curriculum that their
Micron is located there.
Yeah, and they've developed that STEM program, that curriculum for the elementary schools. Again, what I'm looking at right now is targeting elementary schools, because it's going to take about 10 years to get this facility up and running. By that time, our kids will be getting ready to graduate from our elementary schools. But we're also trying to create pathways with the college. Dr. Durant and I, and Amy Mahunik, my assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, have been meeting regularly about creating these different pathways for kids, so that when they're in high school, they can be getting college and high school credits together, but also leading them to a path. So, whether it's nursing or criminal justice or teaching, those are the opportunities we're trying to provide with our kids. But now with Micron coming, we definitely want to look at that engineering type of pathway.
So one of the good news pieces has been in the last 14 days, the governor released her budget, and it looks like Auburn is going to get a foundation aid increase of, I repeat this, 22.4. I'll say that again, 22.4% increase in foundation aid. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you're going to get roughly, I looked at the numbers again, almost $8 million more this coming year.
Correct.
Last year you got $4 million.
Correct.
What does this mean for the district?
I mean, it's huge, but when you look at the course of the last, 14 years, we've lost probably around $150 million in revenue because we haven't been fully funded ever. So this is the first year that we're being fully funded.
So that was last year. So this is this the third year of increases? So do you think that stops the increases?
That's what we're worried about.
That is clearly that.
Cliff.
Okay.
We're worried about that double cliff.
Because the formula has not been fixed. Am I correct?
Correct.
So the thought has always been, I don't think it was Dr. Timms or all these school advocates, you have to either shake up the whole system, which nobody's willing to do because there's always going to be winners and more likely losers, is you just got to infuse a lot more money in the system and not deal with the formula.
Correct.
So is that what they're doing right now?
Well, so right now what they're trying to do is fully fund everybody. Everybody else is still getting a 3% increase. So if you stop and look at it through my lens, we've never been fully funded before, correct? So finally we're going to be fully funded. These other school districts, though, that are fully funded or maybe 22% over what they're supposed to be, they're getting another 3% on top of that. So again, pushing them further ahead, and we're finally at ground zero. So that's an issue that we got to face. We are very thankful, trust me, very thankful that we're getting this $8 million, and it's going to be used, and it's already used. We're already doing our planning, and we look like we're going to have probably over an $8 million increase in our budget next year.
So let's talk about some math that comes to your budget. If I had come to you 15 days ago on December 31st, before she released her budget, what did you and Lisa Green, your business executive, see as the gap between expenses and revenues?
About $8 million.
So this closes the gap.
Yeah, maybe $9 million, maybe a little bit closer to $9 million.
So does that mean you still may have to have some cuts this year?
Either that or fund balance use.
Okay.
We have our fund balances in pretty good shape as well. So
what do you have roughly in your fund balance?
Quite a bit over the 4% that we're supposed to be. I think we're more in line about 9 or 10%. And there's a reason why we are. The reason is because back years ago, Governor Cuomo told us to do some cuts, right? So we did what we were told for savings, and then our rollovers through the COVID years have been pretty high as well.
So do you see new spending, or just maintenance at this stage?
No, this is maintaining.
Okay. So going through the budget, and the district provided a nice chart. I want to ask you about two specific items. One is an item that was kept flat, was homeless aid at $50,000. So you're just talking about poverty. What's that $50,000 go to?
For the homeless, that is our homeless population, which our homeless population, of course, is quite high. We've had 180 students homeless in some years.
So this was kept flat. So any increased costs the district will have to make.
It will come out of our general budget.
The other one that was just slightly, and again, I don't want to overshadow 22.4%, because I think that's the key number here. But you did lose building aid and textbooks and software, and why was that?
Some of the building aid, though, may not be calculated correctly because this year's capital project may not have been complete before it's been pushed in. So those numbers still might change a little bit. Some of the other ones, because our enrollment's gone down.
So where are you right now in the budget process?
So right now in the budget process, Lisa's been doing her regular presentations at our board meeting. In 2 weeks, on February 28th, I believe. Yeah, February 28th, we'll be doing our first board.
Or March 1st. We're not. I don't think we're going to leap year this year. So
no, 20.
March 1st. Or February 27th.
27th.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to have We're going to have our first board workshop. So that's actually us presenting numbers to our board and looking at what we need and what we are going to reassess then.
So a viewer saw $8 million, and their first question was not what you're spending the money on, but isn't it time to give relief to taxpayers and not do a tax increase? What do you think of the tax? What do you think the chances are in your budget discussions right now with your board of not doing a tax? Because you've done tax increases every year. Do you think this is the year with $8 million coming forward that if you do a tax increase that's minimal, but more importantly, because you've gone over the rate, am I correct?
No, we've gone right up to our tax
right
cap.
Up to tax
we've
cap.
we've never done.
But do you see some families saying this is the year not to do it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I've already heard from those families, and I think that will be a definite conversation that the board will have. I do think that the board also realizes that we're worried about what next year is going to look like, especially if there's no increase in aid, because now everybody's fully funded. So does that mean everybody is frozen at where they are and with no tax increase this year, what does that do for us next year? But absolutely, the question is going to be: is $8 million? Is it this year the year to go out for a zero?
If you weren't dealing with the 8 and the 4 on a normal year, how much does the district's budget increase by millions or hundreds of thousands on a given year?
Usually around $3 million.
Okay.
But there's parts of our budget that we're increasing in an extra $3 million that we're going to be using our fund balance, which is for
So
safety
the rest
measures.
of so the reason I'm asking is even with the 8 million, if you didn't get 3 million next year, you'd have a problem.
Correct.
Okay. You mentioned the business office.
Yes.
Lisa Green.
Lisa Green, business manager.
Business manager, business executive, great person. I know her from the city of Auburn. She is retiring this year. Am I correct?
She is.
So you can talk about her either now or when she's here with you in about a month and a half.
I'm going to talk to her both times. Okay. I'm going to.
Where are you in the process of, and I don't use this word because I don't like it, replacing her, because I think she's most likely the most irreplaceable in your building. Where are you in that process?
We have the job is posted right now. The job posting comes down at the end of this month. Once that job posting comes down, we will start doing some screening process. We use a system where we actually send interview questions out. The candidates will answer those. We'll screen.
So when does she finish?
She will be done the second week in July.
Will you hopefully have the new person overlap?
We hope to.
Do you see any other changes in your management team this coming year?
Not this coming year. The following year, there could be some more.
You see by the end of 2024 some changes. I'm sorry.
25.
25?
Yeah, by the end of 25, there will be changes.
So a couple of quick other little minor items here. When you were last here, Mickey Cuevas Post was you brought her back in for it's like a good scene from The Godfather.
I always use her. Yep, Mickey's my go-to.
She was at Casey Park because you lost a principal. Why did that person leave?
Just was not the right fit.
So you now have somebody new at Casey?
Yep, John Roberts, who's worked in this district his entire career.
So he was an internal candidate.
Yeah, he was a history teacher, assistant principal. He was actually our principal, our remote principal when we were going through COVID. So he served a lot of administrative roles with us. So
now you have not new principals in the sense because Mr. Gorney, you moved Casey and Herman around to
correct.
Herman and Owasco, but you for the last year and a half, you have new principals at almost all of your elementary schools, correct?
Yes. If you want to look at it in that way, yes.
New to the buildings,
right? Yes, because Mr. Gorney and Kelly have been around quite a while. But they moved buildings. But now John Roberts, year one for Ron and Kelly. Sarah is year 2 and Melissa's year 2. Sarah might be year 3 now. Okay.
So on Friday you sent a note to parents about your HVAC system. You've got some problems at Casey Park, Genesee, Herman, and Wasco. What's going on?
So in the capital project, the univents that were chosen as a change order from the engineer group have not been working the way they should be. So what we've done is for the last year and a half, pretty much a year and a half, we've let the engineer try to make adjustments and changes according to temperature of the water as well as the valve flow, how much water going through, saying that they could fix all the issues with those different tweaks. We haven't seen any change. So we put pressure on them and said, we want this fixed. Whether
so they're in the process. Are the buildings too hot or too cold?
Both.
Okay.
So if you lower the temperature of the water, it's supposed to be 180 degrees. If you're lowering that down to 110, yeah, it might be nice and warm right in the beginning, but by the time it gets to the end of the loop, the water's a lot colder. So they need to either change these univents out or retrofit them. They need to do a fix.
So you're looking for a Goldilocks solution where it's just right.
Correct.
And so you also were very clear in your email that this is not going to cost the public
Correct.
anything. You also have, this is part of a couple of capital projects you've had. You still have one year worth of projects still left. Am I correct in that?
We have this summer and next summer.
Okay. So what's this summer's plan?
This summer is we are going to be changing out all of the branch piping at the high school. So all the ceilings, everything's going to be taken out. All of those branch pipes are going to be completely taken out of the high school. So that will be shut down. The high school will be shut down all summer long.
Will you be able to open up on time?
In September, yes. They have guaranteed me.
Okay.
Trust me, there's been many meetings about this.
And then what's next summer?
The following summer will be the rooftop units at the high school. So the high school will be completely closed down again because there'll be cranes putting the rooftop units. That's the one that brings the heat and the air conditioning in at the high school. So everything up on the top of the roof. And also all the junior high HVAC work and reconstruction of the main office and the vestibules. And then all of the site work for the district.
So once that's done, are you in the process right now of looking at the next capital project?
So what I'm in the process of now is getting the BCS, the Building Condition Survey, has to be done every 5 years. Ours is due next year. So once we get that completed, that's what we start building our next capital project off of.
And that would be something you go back to voters for, but that's
Correct.
not something you're going to put in front of voters in 2023, correct?
That is correct.
But this May, you will have 3 seats open this year. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Or 3 seats up. I shouldn't say they're open. It is C.J. Clarko, Eli Hernandez, and Rhoda Overstreet Wilson. I know Miss Overstreet Wilson is running for city council, so that is an open seat. Do you have any idea whether C.J. Clarko or Mr. Hernandez are running, or are there other candidates out there right now?
I have not heard of any other candidates. I know that Eli was still undecided. CJ has shown some interest.
Because he's fulfilling a one-year term, right?
Yes. So we're hoping that he throws his hat in the ring there again. And again, Eli is still undecided, so we're waiting.
And people can go see Shelley Major starting when to pick up a petition?
In March.
And then we'll have people here on May 9th for forum, as long as there's enough candidates. But just a general question, what would you like to see in a candidate, somebody who's running? I know the normal. They believe in, they love children.
Absolutely.
They put children first. What are you looking, either analytically, socially, mentally, what are you looking at for a candidate to run?
I'm looking for somebody maybe with that business-like model. If we're talking about Micron coming in and getting these kids prepared for the future, people that really might know that technology piece, the chip that Microns are going to be doing. Some of these people that can bring us more information to really help us guide where we've got to bring these kids for the next, 3 to 5 years and where we're going to be advancing to. So some new creative ideas about those type of experiences. I'm
going to leave masks alone, so nobody can get bingo on that. But I do want to ask a follow-up question that we were asked. Last time you were on, there was the talk about getting boosters in the elementary schools for those who were 12 and below. Did that ever come about?
No, it's been pretty quiet from the health department.
So you were really waiting for the health department to take the lead on it.
I mean, that's where we follow our directives, and it's been pretty quiet. We had that huge spike before Christmas break, if you remember.
I said I wasn't going to bring up masks.
We didn't go with masks, but we.
Why not then?
Because again, I don't know if mask is really going to end what we were dealing with at that time.
Because you started school break a day earlier.
A day early.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that the kids and staff could enjoy the holiday on Sunday and Christmas versus just giving them an extra day. And I knew the weather was going to be horrible and most school districts closed that day anyway. So there was a lot of variables I put in place there. But we have seen a much better route now since we've come back from the holiday seasons. Our attendance is better. So we're real appreciative of that as well.
I want to thank you for your time, as usual. Superintendent of Schools for the Auburn District. I want to thank you for giving us a district update. Hope you'll be back in sometime in late March or early April to give a budget update with Lisa Green.
Looking
as you do
forward to
that. And again, we want to thank the superintendent for his time. We'll be back on Thursday with 2 back-to-back Beyond the Front Page shows. The first featuring Nick's Ride and the work they do, as well as their upcoming event this Saturday at the Springside Inn, which sounds very, very cool. You'll be able to hear more about that on Thursday. We'll also then be joined by Melissa Kangakartner, the head of the Y Camp, and YMCA Membership and Marketing Director Stephanie Bales, to discuss their annual meeting that will celebrate the 100th anniversary of Camp Wyowasko. In the coming weeks, we have among the guests who are coming in Legislative Chairman David Gould, Dr. Adam Effler of the Owasco Lake Watershed Management Council, new Cuyahoga County Chamber of Commerce Director Amy Fuller, Mike Miller, the new head of the Cuyahoga Economic Development Agency, CEDA, Father Vasil Kolpanik of St. Peter and Paul Ukrainian Church, Film Director Locke Phillips, who will be doing some presentations here on campus, as well as Cuyahoga Community College President Brian Durant, among others. If you'd like to let us know questions for them or suggest other guests for Inside Government Beyond the Front Page, you can send your ideas to cozguytho@aol.com. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cuyahoga Community College. We want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and we will see you back here in the studio on Thursday with the 2 back-to-back Beyond the Front Pages. And I'll tell